looking good, Italian John.
Feeling good, Tommy boy. How are you, brother?
I'm doing well. The weather's shifted here on the East Coast. We're a little bit warmer, going to be a little bit wetter, I imagine. Got a big rut coming up as we record this. It is Thursday afternoon. We got a big rut coming up tomorrow for our 2023, so a 20.23 mile. Always great fellowship, outstanding first F, second F, third F at the end. So I'm fired up. How about you, man?
Good, buddy. I had a meeting this morning with my Shield Lock. Even though all of us have a little bit of a diet component to our 8 block this year, we met at Bojangles, so it took a little bit of restraint not to get a Cajun filet with some seasoned fries and a cheer wine. But no, we had a good meeting this morning. But our thoughts turned to a pretty sad note. And I know a lot of guys around the nation have heard about this, and you'll see a lot of pictures and videos that's circulating on social media. We lost a PAX in Knoxville. Taylor Phelps, F3 Cardinal, young man, 38 years old, dad of 2, pastor, was doing his VQ, and he passed out during his VQ and later passed away. So our thoughts, our prayers are with his family, with the Phelps family, with the PAX in Knoxville. Tough situation. It makes you think internally. It makes you think, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. None of us are. We don't know what's on the horizon. So I want to go ahead and say right off the top, thoughts and prayers for all those involved. And Tommy boy, I can see the look on your face. I know that this has had an effect on you. And you put something out on our social media account from the Stuff Worth Trying Twitter account. So before we get into today's subject, what went through your mind, and how are you feeling on this?
Yeah, I was reminded, and I said it before we hit record, of don't shit on yourself or others, right? So
yeah.
We talk a lot about stuff we're trying. To me, the stuff worth doing is getting your physical. If you're lax on that, get your physical done, fellas. Know where you stand from a medical standpoint. Learn hands-only CPR. If not, get certified in full-on CPR first responder. It's a 4-hour class. It's wicked quick, and you could take that with you for a long time. You'll also be a motivation for your 2.0s because in many states, if not almost every state, it's now a high school graduation requirement to be CPR certified. Hands-only CPR, you can literally watch a 3-minute YouTube video and know how to save a man's life, or at least keep his heart pumping until an EMT or a first responder gets there. The other thing is to tell a grown man you love him, right? Yeah. I mean, it's just these simple things. Oh, and I would be remiss. Always, if you are queuing, carry a phone. If you are the queuing and have no means to carry a phone because you're carrying, a speaker or a cinder block or whatever, assign a guy to carry your phone or his phone. Those are things that are just non-negotiables to me. So I get frustrated because oftentimes, and myself included, I shit on myself. And this is something that nobody should be shitting about. We should just be doing.
Yeah.
So,
I did. I don't know if you. I don't know if you saw the message Cardinal's wife put out there. Have you seen that yet?
I have not yet.
Let me share it with you. Cardinal. Came from Cardinal's Slack account. It said, "This is Andrea Phelps. I logged into my husband's phone and found my way into this app. Your messages of support and love make my heart ache a little less this morning. Taylor had really struggled with loneliness. It's hard to be a pastor and your only friends are your church members. He had been happier than I had ever seen him in such a long time when he found you guys. Thank you for making his last days bright. Thank you for the GoFundMe. We weren't prepared to lose him, and that money will help us give him the funeral he deserves. Also, our church is concerned that we will not have enough space to hold everyone who would like to attend his funeral. So we're going to have at a friend's church, South Harriman Baptist Church. The rest of the details will be the same. God bless you guys." So I read that, and with tears in my eyes and goosebumps on my arm, it makes me realize how impactful it is to have friends and to have people that love you and that will tell you they love you. This is a sad reminder of a society we live in where men are missing the love of another man and of friends. And I'm honored each day to spend time in the gloom with the men of the gloom who love and care and support me. So That's it. That's it. I just want to bring that up and let you know that that's been put out there.
I appreciate you sharing that. Let's do this. Our church is actually doing something, a theme on Fred Rogers. So for lack of an awkward segue into our subject matter today, I'll keep time. 10 seconds, gentlemen. As you listen to this or as you watch this, just stop what you're doing. Think about the ones who you love, the ones who got you where you are. I'll keep time. 10 seconds to lift those folks up. Rest in peace, Cardinal. God bless, brother.
Hi.
All right, IJ. Today we are focusing on something we've hit on either directly or from the side before, which is F3 is open to all men and F3 is free of charge, which means we do not own it, which means we are called to give it away. So no better guest than to bring on today than our head of expansion and that SLT focusing on giving F3 away through a ripple effect known as expansion, known as starfish, whatever you call it, just do it, right? So Beans, we'll start with you as head of the nation's expansion team. Let's do a quick name-orama. Your hospital name, your age, your F3 name, and how you wound up with your name.
Gotcha. Thank you, Tommy Boy and iJob for inviting us to be a part of this today. As you guys were talking, just the goosebumps, iJob. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. It's actually a little bit even hard to talk right now, but I'm going to try to do the best to get through this. But Mike Sluhan, 46 Beans, and I got that name because I'm in finance. And the moment I said I was in finance, someone equated it to a bean counter, and thus the name Beans was born. So that's how I got Beans. Yeah,
That's great. I guess we should pass the mic around and say let's go to Dilly Dilly with the same question. Dilly Dilly, how long have you been around F3, and how did you get the name Dilly Dilly?
Yeah, so I've been almost 3.5 years now. Started August 2019, right before the pandemic year, got my name Dilly Dilly. Ryan Tohill, Dilly Dilly, 44 Dilly Dilly, but I got my name obviously on my first post and was going around talking about what I do, and I didn't even get my job out of my mouth. And guys, a lot of you know Urkel from Naperville.
Yep.
And Urkel screamed out, Dilly Dilly!
Dilly Dilly!
So, yeah, exactly. So I work for Molson Coors, the brewery. So our biggest brands are Miller Lite and Coors Light, and certainly that brand from up in Beans's area in St. Louis. They're our biggest competitors. And they used to have a marketing campaign where they used to yell Dilly Dilly. So I said, I will never come back if you call me that. And here I am 3.5 years later, still coming back, right?
That's so good.
That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how that plays out.
How it plays out. All right, let's toss it down to Chili Pepper.
Hey, guys. This is Andrew Moore, 48, Chili Pepper. Sorry, I have to do the burpee.
Every time.
So that's one more from ABBA. But I posted and told the guys I was from Chile and I was wearing a red shirt, and I guess that was enough. 1 + 1 is Chili Pepper. So
that's a very creative morning.
Super original. Super original. We never claim to be very bright. So let's be completely honest. We are just
that's not one of the 5 core principles. So
that's exactly right.
Otherwise, there probably wouldn't be anybody in F3 Nation.
That's right. If you want to experience joy, just lower the bar. I mean, it's that easy. So, well, Beans, let's start with you, man. As the head of expansion in the SLT that focuses on giving F3 away, give us that elevator pitch. What is it that you do, and why does it matter?
Yeah, I thought I'd start off with maybe just some statistics since I'm Beans. I got to start with the numbers, right? And also too, after what we've all experienced over the last 24 hours, man, if that doesn't motivate you to want to expand this thing, to see the amount of love that's come out of F3 over the last 24 hours, man, I don't know if there's anything else that'll motivate you to do so. But here's some quick numbers on 2022. So the beginning of 2022, we had 218 regions. We ended with 297. We had 2,837 AOs. We ended with 3,618 AOs. I stepped into this position September 1st. From that time, we've launched 40 new regions, and there's been 248 expansion requests that have come in during that time. I mean, it's just incredible. Absolutely incredible. And so what ultimately wound up happening is we realized that, the momentum that F3 has got, we've got to get a team in place to be able to handle these requests in a sufficient manner to give them the support they need, so we don't let any opportunity slip through the cracks. So ultimately what we wound up doing was we created a whole team across the country that tied to the sectors and created an expansion queue that was plugged into each sector. So I just want to rattle off the list of the expansion queues from an awareness perspective, because if you're in a particular sector and you have something expansion related, this is your person to reach out to. Obviously, we can all help in any way, shape, or form, but this is the most proximate person to you from that regard. So we got Dilly Dilly, which is with us today. We'll be talking about, he's in the north central sector. Obviously, Chili Pepper has been rocking and rolling the international sector, which has got to be one of the most difficult to support from, a lack of proximity. But he's done a phenomenal job. We got Bird Hole in the northeast sector, Full House in the mid-southeast sector, HIPAA in the southeast sector, Walk On in the south central sector, and Tater in the west sector. So we got a pretty powerful team all coming together to help support all the expansion efforts that are coming in. And I also want to give some information on what we view as expansion, because we put it in 4 different categories. And I think this will help the PACs kind of put things into their mind as to how to think about expansion. Because we have the old first traditional method where F3 never existed somewhere. Someone saw something about F3, reached out and said, hey, I want to get something going here. And it's their very first experience, and we call that a new launch. So those requests are still coming in pretty hot and heavy, especially with the media that we've been receiving over the past 6 months or so. Those requests have come in, hey, I saw this, I read this, I ran into this person. So that's a new launch that we're trying to help support. We also have the mustard seed, where someone's been a part of F3 before and they're moving to a new location and then they want to plant a flag in that location. So they know about F3, they're very familiar, but they still need some help and support with launching them in that new area. Then we have the starfish, which is becoming more and more popular as F3 grows, as one region grows and becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, carving off that region into 2, 3, 4 to give other people the chance to step up into leadership opportunities and keep giving it away more. And then the 4th opportunity we refer to is concentric. And this is kind of a strategic one where we might have a region in one area, a region in another area, and there's maybe a key part of the United States that F3 just isn't in yet. And so we're trying to get those 2 regions to see if they can identify somebody that might have a contact in that area or somebody that's willing to travel to get something going in that area. So 2 regions can kind of help grow a 3rd region out of those 2 concentrics. So those are really the 4 opportunities that we're looking for from an expansion standpoint. And every one that comes in, the expansion requests, are a form of those different expansion opportunities. So that's how we look at growth.
So this is a question for anybody on the line. I take a look at the map every 2 weeks. I make sure to update. The map is updated on our F3 Nation website, and I've seen that map grow redder and redder. What states are we missing? I feel like I know we're missing Alaska and Hawaii. Mm-hmm. Is it Maine? Those are our 3 that we're.
Those are the 3. Mm-hmm.
So if a guy's hearing it right now from any of those 3 states and say, I know about F3, I saw a story, I read something, I got a buddy on the mainland, whatever it is, and says, I want to do this. What's their step? Like, what do they do to say, I want F3 in Bangor, Maine, I want it in Honolulu, I want it in Anchorage, Alaska? What do they do?
Sure. Before, good news, we've got activity in Maine and activity in Alaska taking place right now. So
nice.
Yeah. Hawaii, we don't have too much activity, but if anyone wants to travel over there. But the best thing to do is go to the F3 Nation website and click on locations, and there's a spot to request support from an expansion. That immediately triggers an email. That email comes to me. I see what sector of the country they're in. and I get the expansion queue that's in that sector immediately involved. And typically, what winds up happening is that expansion queue also gets the surrounding regions, NANTANs, involved to make sure that, hey, you're not already potentially going into that area and we're stepping on toes. Let's make sure to do this in a coordinated fashion. So that initial email request, that gets the ball rolling for everything.
So let's do this.
There he goes.
No. My brain was on mute. My mouth was never on mute. So, like, there's a quick way to fast track Hawaii as well, right? Basically, just offer Beans a flight out to Hawaii, right? I mean, it's right there, ready to go. He'll come with a pocket full of regional names too. I mean, it's like one-stop shop. So, Chili, let me toss one to you, man. When it comes to expanding, give us kind of your, especially with you looking at it from a global standpoint, give us your hot take on why is this expansion something that is so worth trying?
Well, it's definitely worth trying. I mean, independent of culture and location, guys are guys, and we all need the same basic things. And as demonstrated in the last 24 hours, and again over the past few years, having that community of guys that you can rely on makes a huge difference. Obviously, Sad Clown exists everywhere, independent of culture. So that's it's not just something unique to the U.S.
So then, and you prompted me to think of something else too. Give us something that you see that is always the same, no matter where you land, when it comes to F3, and something that you enjoy, a difference that you enjoy seeing when you're outside of the United States.
Well, I mean, obviously, guys are guys, and you always like to hang out with your friends, or think back to the days of high school when you had your buddies and you had kind of that network, and just recreating that. Everybody falls into the out of college or out of high school, work and trying to do day to day, and you fall into that potential sad clown syndrome. But differences is or one some of the challenges are just culturally different. Some locations, South America, Spain, even in the Orient, trying to get guys to come out at 5:15, good luck. So we've some of the packs overseas have had to try afternoon workouts, different options. It's not always a boot camp. In Kenya and Uganda, it's pretty much soccer. Just think, outside of the U.S., soccer is the biggest sport. So, so a lot of running, a lot of soccer. There's, but obviously the as long as it hits the 5 core principles, it's F3.
So when we think expansion in the international sector, I mean, just in the past year, just in the past few months, we added Switzerland, and we have Morocco, we have Thailand and Hong Kong and Seoul, South Korea. And I'm going off the top of my head here, so I know I'm missing some that just recently came through. Where are some of these places, some of the requests that have come through that haven't made it to the map yet? They're in the preliminary stages. What are some of those countries that we could see coming from the requests that have come through in recent days, recent months?
Okay, hold on to your seats. So right now we have potentials at different stages, and usually internationally it kind of takes longer because the guys normally have never done F3. But we have potential leads in Spain, Berlin, Germany, Birmingham, UK, Cambridge, Ontario, Cape Town, South Africa, Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada, Hawkinsville, Ontario, Canada, Madrid, Spain, Maram City, Indonesia. I probably killed that. Montreal, Canada. Nijmegen, Germany. I probably didn't pronounce that right either. Prince Albert, Canada, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, St. Gallen, Switzerland, which is north part of Switzerland, so it's pretty far from our current AO. Salisbury, Ontario, Canada. Torbay, Devon, UK, Victoria, BC, Canada, Winnipeg, and there's a few others that are slowly trickling in. And I'm trying to. I have a few ones that have not responded in a while, but we keep going after them.
So what you're saying really is we're going to see some F3 jerseys and shovel flags at the next World Cup, right?
I hope that would be totally awesome.
That would make my day. Dilly, I'd love to hear. Wait, go ahead.
I'm just blown away. I'm just blown away. I mean, that's just...
And just to plug real quick. Just any guys that are traveling, we always monitor the downrange channel, Slack channel. But any guys that are traveling overseas, reach out, because you might be going somewhere where there's a potential, FNG that's interested, but it's never done F3. And just the hardest thing for me, at least, is sharing the culture where, Zoom works, but it's not the same thing. And just having somebody that's done F3 there to do a beat down or two and just talk face to face makes such a huge difference.
Yeah, like you mentioned before, Beans, proximity, right? So, Chili, hats off to you, man, for overcoming the lack of proximity most of the time, and I'm also a little bit jealous that you're getting to spend some time with some of these studs across the pond.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
No doubt. If you ever want to offload some of those freaking flyer miles, just let me know. All right. Dilly, what are some things that you've seen or heard in your conversations that you enjoy or that you would share with guys listening? Maybe they've got a fire to launch a new region in a neighboring town. Maybe they're getting pulled into a starfish conversation or a mustard seed conversation, or they're that guy who has a friend up in Bangor, Maine and wants to help them launch. What are some things that you've seen, maybe best practices, maybe just kind of cool ideas that you're willing to share?
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, as we're continuing to grow, nationally and becoming more proximate, in terms of, certainly there's a lot of spaces across the map nationally still. And we want to be in every community that we can possibly be in, but there's less and less of those gaps, right? And so we're seeing more of this, as Beans described it, the starfish model, right? Which is, hey, a region is getting to a certain capacity and it's time to start thinking about how do we move part of that region to another community and continue to watch it grow. And that's actually what happened in my case. Is why I have a lot of passion for that one, is because I originally started as part of Naperville. And then it was kind of like baby bird, right? They were like, all right, time for you to get out of the nest and go do your own thing and grow this thing further south. And so I think that one's, probably the one that I get a lot of questions on now. And I'm, doing a lot of like coaching and advice and like, hey, here's what I've seen or what's been done. And the nice thing about what's great about F3, which we all know, is there are no rules, right? Like, that's why I tell people when I do conversations with them, is they're like, hey, is there like a business proposal I got to submit to you? Or like, it's like, no, like, are you following the core principles? All right, then go, right? Like, well, when do I become an official region? Whenever you feel like you're ready, like send me the information, we'll get you on the map, right? And so I bring that up because the starfish can be done in multiple different ways, right? And so if you look at like St. Louis, I was talking to, Beans mentioned on the upfront that they're getting ready to split their region that has like Illinois and part of St. Louis together. And I was talking to the guy who was down here actually guest queuing in our region this past week. His name's Pusher. He leads that region down there as the Nantan. And like he was saying, hey, as soon as I started this region, I was already thinking about how I was going to split these Illinois guys off and let them do their own thing, right? And so, and then just most recent too, you kind of look at what Naperville's done from a different perspective. So St. Louis has kind of approached it like, hey, go, new region, go. Where Naperville just did another big split, but they viewed it more as like a super region with some smaller regions underneath it. Almost like a sector within itself. So they have like Naperville Central, but then they split to an east and a west as well, which is allowing them to go further south. And what it did is they created separate leadership teams within those easts and the west. So again, like our mission is to invigorate this male community leadership. And so if you are in bigger regions and you're not thinking about this idea of starfish, you're really doing a disservice to, the packs in your in your region, because you're holding a bunch of leaders back that need the opportunity to step up and take on an opportunity. And that's the way Naperville approached it. Was like, hey, we're going to give these guys the roles and the leadership in their own little divisions of the super region, and they're still kind of managed. That central leadership team's kind of still overseeing maybe some of the bigger picture stuff, but eventually you're going to see that thing split off, and it's going to grow further and further. And so I think this idea of Starfish is a big one, and the one to get more conversations around, because again, it creates more leadership opportunities, because a lot of these regions have site queues, and those site queues are typically ready to take on a leadership role. And then when those site queues go on to leadership roles, then that opens up site queue roles. And so you're just constantly evolving these leaders. And I think that's how we can grow this thing, further and faster than we ever have but people have to get out of that mindset, because the hardest thing for people to understand is the number one thing I hear when I have these initial conversations is I don't want to lose what I have, right? I have this awesome culture and it's fun. I love being around these guys. But if you take that mindset, you're being selfish, and you're not giving it away like what we should be doing, because there's a man out there in another community near you, and the Starfish allows you to get closer to that man and bring them in, and give them the opportunities that you had. And so that's what I'm focused on big right now. And I think, has a lot of legs to it, and just people need to embrace the Starfish idea.
Hey, Tommy boy, for the guys who have not heard of the Starfish model before, what do you know about Starfish? What does it mean when you starfish? Do you know the impetus or where the Starfish model came from?
Yeah, the idea really is as simple as a little biology 101, right? When a starfish loses a limb, or rather has a limb removed, it doesn't die, and that limb doesn't die. They both become a bigger, stronger starfish. So the idea is, just to dovetail off of what Dilly Dilly just said, take that fire that's inside of you and push it outside of you, beyond yourself, beyond your region. And really, as I've got the region map up here, so if you go to f3nation.com/workouts, you'll see the map that we've been referring to. Guys, as you listen to this, fire up the computer and the interwebs and zoom in to the area around you and see where there's a gap. And then if you're motivated to give this away, this conversation inspires you, bring in 2 or 3 other guys in your region and say, hey, let's launch insert city here. These guys, their role and their passion within F3 is to help you be successful with that. So find a way to be that starfish, and be brave and willing enough to sever a little piece of you and give it away to another guy. Because you never know whose lives you're going to change. You probably will never know, but odds are you're going to change a whole lot of lives because you have the audacity to cut your arm off, not literally, and give it away.
Just to tie on to that, Chili Pepper had mentioned this, but I just want to further stress this, because we've seen some really good success come out of this in that downrange channel. So if you are traveling, one of the things that we're talking about, and it's a little bit more complicated to try to keep it simple so we're not making things confusing, but one of the things we're talking about is trying to create another map that shows where we have activity. So people can look at it and see, oh, I'm heading there. I should reach out and maybe see if I can help with something there. But if you are traveling, please go into the downrange channel, post where you're heading to if there's not something there already. And like Chili said, all eyes from the expansion team are on that downrange channel. And if we see something in an area that we know there's activity, we just haven't gotten something going, we're going to probably utilize you to help get something going. Chili did that in Boston. That went up there. Him and Kraut went up there, and shortly thereafter, new region in Boston. It was awesome. It was a fantastic.
Wicked.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Wicked awesome. Wicked awesome.
The other thing that I'll point out, and I believe this is on the Stuff We're Trying website. If not, we'll make sure that it gets there. But all regions, whether you're brand new, whether you're just thinking of starting out, or whether you're more mature, there's a thing out there now called the G3L Region Acceleration Matrix. And this Region Acceleration Matrix kind of helps you walk through the progression and ties it to the get right, live right, lead right, leave right, ultimately leave right, potentially going into the starfish model. But it shows you some of the different things that might be taking place during those phases of a region's life cycle. And sometimes people come out and think, oh my gosh, we don't have this, we don't have this. And then you can look at that's normal. We don't necessarily need that at this stage. It's okay. We don't have to be at the leave right stage. We're still at the get right stage. So definitely check that out. That could definitely be a good resource for some expansion efforts.
Yeah, we'll drop the link. It is on Stuff We're Trying. I'll drop the link in the show notes. But fellas, if you're too stubborn to click on that, just go to stuffwe'retrying.com, type in G3L, letter G, number 3, letter L. It'll pop up, click on it, and it takes you to a fantastic document that provides kind of a litmus test of where you are and where you're headed.
So Tommy
fellas,
Boy, real quick before we close it out. I live in a region close enough to where this whole thing started, and 12 years? Yeah, I carry the 1 on that one. Started. So I have worked out at the original AO in Charlotte. I've met Dredd a number of times, and I specifically remember hearing Dredd say, "It'll never work across the river. It'll never work in the county over." And it amazes me. I've been around F3 for over 10 years to what initially started as just a group of 30 some odd guys getting together on New Year's. And if you ever talk to Dredd and OBT, they will tell you they are blown away that what just started as a fitness group turned into much, much more, turned into a fellowship group, turned into faith and believing not only in something greater than yourself, that you're not the center of this universe, but this outpouring of just fun, of being kids again. Chili Pepper hit on it. It doesn't matter what language you speak or what country you live in or what culture you come from. Every man wants to have a good time with his buddies. My kids call F3, call my buddy F3 buddies. F3 buddies. These are my friends. These are my friends that I know that I could post at any region worldwide and I would be accepted for who I am. Yep. That the guys would, the culture is strong throughout the world, that a side straddle hop is a side straddle hop. Oddly enough, a Moroccan nightclub in Morocco was foreign to them. So I asked that question when I met the guys through a translator. The Moroccan nightclub was unknown. So we'll have to work on that a little bit. But I'm always encouraged every time that I see another city added to the map or another country colored in, because it's not, man, that's cool that we've expanded, but it's another life impacted. It's another family impacted. It's another community impacted. It's these small steps that will take us to where we ultimately want to be, is creating a better world for our kids and for our kids' kids and beyond. This is spreading seeds across the world for something that we know personally, each one of us and guys who've been a part of F3 for any period of time know you can't find this anywhere else. I haven't found it unfortunately, I haven't found it in a workplace. I haven't found it at a gym, and I certainly haven't found it at the grocery store or at my church. This is something that's just special. So the fact that you men exist and your D2X is serving men around the world to give away something is so impactful. T-claps to you men for the hours you pour in, for the efforts you're putting forward, because you're planting those seeds that, as Tommy Boy said, you may never see the harvest. You may never actually see your work paying off, but we know that the work that you're doing now will pay dividends in the future. So thank you for that. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank you guys for the efforts you're putting forward for the men of the world. So thank you.
Well, thank you for letting us be on this platform to talk about it. And one last plug, if you don't mind, to all those SLTs across the region out there. One of the things that's really important, because now that F3 is growing in popularity and a lot of media attention, we're getting more and more people just showing up to an AO. So the ask is for those SLTs across to make sure that you're reviewing your map and your coordinates and your information to make sure it's accurate, because the last thing we want is someone showing up based on something they see on the map and there's no one there. we want everyone greeted with open arms at the right location. So just take some time this year, put it on your goal list to review your AOs and the locations and the details, what's on the map, make sure it's accurate so that someone that shows up is welcome.
Awesome. Dilly Dilly, beans, chili pepper. Appreciate you guys for what you're doing. Thanks for giving it away. Thanks for laying a blueprint out for everybody else who is fired up to do the exact same thing across the nation. I was about to say region, nation, globe, the F3 galaxy, whatever you want to call it now. We'll see a flag on the moon before we know it, I'm sure. Looking at you, Elon Musk. Make it happen, bro. Fellas, let's close like this. A couple things, just real quick, end of the line housekeeping. In the show notes, we will have the link to Stuff Worth Trying, directly connecting you to the G3L format. Take a look at it. We will also, because of where we began this conversation, put a link to an AED, an app that will track AED locations for you in your region. We will put a link to the Red Cross CPR certification class locator so you can find it wherever you are and reach out and ask for help setting up a CPR class, a hands-only lesson, whatever it may be. We will also include a link to Cardinals, to the GoFundMe in Cardinals' memory and in his honor. Give what you can. If you can't give anything, you can at least turn to the guy beside you in the gloom tomorrow or the next time you post. Let him know that you love him. Aye?
Aye.
All right, fellas. That being said, I love each and every one of you. Appreciate all the service that you're pouring into F3 and to the men that you may never meet and to the ones that you do. IJ, Chili Pepper, Dilly Dilly, Beans, love you guys. To the rest of the Podpackers out there, love you too. Be good, but be good at it.